Hey, this week I'm in the workshop of Clint Carney Creates. We're doing custom cast blaster toys from the 60s. Let's go. Hey, well, today you've seen Clint Carney on the channel before. We did the, what did we do? We did the dollar store mashup.
Yeah, the dollar store blaster challenge.
Where he's too nice to admit it, but he clearly won. I'll link to that video, his video and my video. And this week, Clint, he'll tell you more about it, but he came across this blaster toy from the 60s, and it was so cool that he decided to cast some. So I'm gonna do my version of this from this casting.
It's actually interesting. So I found this blaster at an estate sale. I was buying a lot of cap guns and dart guns and things like that. And this one to me looked so cool because it was very reminiscent of like a Star Wars style blaster.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned it has kind of like a World War II. Yeah,
the World War II like Luger thing, and that's total like 70s Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly. But I was surprised when I looked it up. It's actually from 1963. It's part of a toy line called King Zor.
Oh,
so
wow.
It was a dart gun, and King Zor is this dinosaur, and you shoot the dart at the dinosaur. Oh. Really fun, but also kind of a rare piece of toy history. And so once I saw how rare it was and how valuable it was, I didn't want to ruin this. So
like paint over it.
Yeah. So instead I decided to make a mold. And then I thought it would be interesting to do kind of a contrast between making a mold and a traditional casting of an old toy versus using modern technology to recreate the toy. So I also did a version of this where I used some AI software to look at a photo of this toy.
Right. Yeah, I saw that video. I'll make sure that I link to that.
So and there you go. This is from the mold of cast from this, and
I could tell you, man. Like the fidelity on this, they're like exactly the same, except for what's nice is this one has the weight to it now because this is solid.
Sure.
All of the dollar toys that I get are trying to be like Sci-Fi, but this is pre that. It adds another layer to it. Yeah. It makes it feel like more authentic.
Yeah, it's got elements of World War II, that influence in
and
there.
Then like ray gun.
Yeah, ray gun, yeah. When I look at that, there's just so many ideas going through my head about what I can do to it. So I'm eager to get in there and start working on these and make them fancy. See what we can come up with, and I'm eager to see what you do with it.
Yeah, so I'm going to take this, I'm going to work on this, make sure that you check out his videos, subscribe to his channel, and we'll be collaborating more in the future. But yeah, let's see what we could do with this custom cast, retro, historic toy blaster.
Right
on. Let's go. All right, and before we get into it, this week's subscriber spotlight, look at Nick Lim's blaster. Very cool. Like the pipe on there. All right, so here is the cast blaster from our good buddy Clint Carney. I was going to fill this with some Bondo. There was some voids. Obviously, it has some flashing. It's a not a one-off, but it's a low production casting, which is awesome. So here I have my poor man's table sander. It's always, I got to get one of those Harbor Freight sanders, but in the meantime, I don't use it that much, so here is me just, it's always funny to me in these videos where I'm just sort of, okay, let me sand this down. But in my head, I'm like, oh, don't mess this up. Don't mess this up. And here, too, I'm like, I could get rid of some of this flashing with this power tool, but it's scary. You see, I have the goggles on there. I always say I do, but you never see them. It's very scary because it's like, I could do 90% of this work quicker, but one slip of the wrist and you put a big gash in there and that's the end of it. So, this is sped up, obviously not real time, but I am being very, ginger with this, even though it doesn't look like it in the fast motion, right? Even there, I'm like, oh, I need to take off this, I could do that by hand for 10 minutes, or I could just roll the dice. But yeah, that's looking really good. So now there's just a couple little pinholes, but I don't really want to take away more material. So I'll probably fill those with glue. And this is just going to be a lot of sanding and some files. I'm going to go through the grits. 400 will probably be my final. Then I'm probably going to use some 200. But if you really want to get in there with the sanding, try my book. Wait, that's not sandpaper. My book just talks about like how I do this, why I do this. Help you. Yeah, not good for sanding, but good for reading. Check it out. Link below. All right, so got my palm sanders, right? It's like everybody says they hate sanding. Everybody says they're gonna. I mean, it does stink. But what I want to do is, because these handles are cast resin in the trigger, I don't want to paint those. I want to keep them the cast resin. And I'm sure you've heard me talk about this before. It's like if I spray paint everything black and then put it next to something that's cast black, it handles light differently. It's more, so I just have this strong feeling that if I leave these handle grips the black cast plastic, it's really going to add something special to this piece. And that's sort of like, just to let you in on my thinking. Then that got me thinking like, oh, this is like a military gun, right? Modification into like a Sci-Fi blaster. And I thought, oh, this is a good opportunity, instead of using my model kit greeblies, of using real hardware. And you'll see later in the video, I'll get to that. And again, I'm just storytelling now because it's sanding, right? So let me give you more information while I sand. And it's primarily, for me, most of the time, 220 grip. I love the palm sanders, but then this has got like the round parts, so is it better to put it in my hand and grip these odd ergonomic shapes? Yeah, it's just whatever works, right? That's always the thing. So here, there is still some voids. I want to fill them with super glue and probably some baking soda. You could use baby powder, just because I got that even. I got it sanded down, so I don't want to risk it, right? I rolled the dice, it worked out, but it's always kind of what I talk about when I'm weathering. It's like, oh my God, this looks amazing. And that one little slip in the wrong direction, and all that is gone. So I'm being very careful here. Again, like I said, it doesn't read that way because, for practical purposes, we speed these videos up. So it looks like, you're just sort of confidently doing this, but, it's a wing and a prayer. So here's the hardware. So I just get these from Harbor Freight. It's like $5 or $6 for a box of these. I don't know if I can find a better deal, something maybe online, but it works out great. So I'm just trying to figure out which ones are relatively the same size as these two cast features in this gun. And like I said, if this was something else, I would probably just go into my model kit pieces and find like a tank wheel or like a rim off of a hot rod and put it in there. But for this, I want to keep it real, man. Add some hardware. And again, this, I don't have a drill press, so I'm like, please go straight. And I'm creeping up on this because I don't want it to split apart. I don't know what the tolerances are of this resin. So again, this whole process was like, please don't break apart in my hands. So the Christmas tree, bit works good for this. I wanted to drill out the barrel, right, just so it looks somewhat real. And again, it's nerve-wracking because I'm like, I'm just waiting for it to shatter apart. And it doesn't really read on camera, but lots of times in these situations, when you're afraid like the drill is going to do damage, it's always a good practice to run the drill backwards, and it sort of creates a track for it to go forwards and not rip stuff apart. But here, I'm just creeping up on it. And I do end up going straight through, but again, if I did things like take measurements and had a drill press and clamped it down properly, it wouldn't be a problem. But we do these things in the real world, right? Where it's just like, get it done. So there's a little tease, and I'm thinking, yeah, that works. And I got two more places, and I think in the 11th hour, I drill a third hole. So now I got these are cheap Harbor Freight files. I have a set of these, but I think I kind of have ruined them over the years. So the main thing to work on in this piece is, right, there's that feature of, I don't know, it kind of looks like a hose, or not a hose, but it's got that crimping, and the flashing runs through it. So the main thing that I want to clean up on this is anywhere where there's that texture, I want to get the flashing off of it, because that's kind of like a giveaway thing. So these needle files work great for that. And it's hard to tell there, but like we're getting to it. We're getting to it, making it work. And like I said, because this thing is solid cast resin, it does feel great in your hand. Like, it really feels substantial. So here, more sanding. I don't think I'm at the 400 yet. This is probably still 220. Yeah. And they're, debating one more pass. Yeah, one more pass. And then the isopropyl cleans it up, and it gives you a look at it. And it's like, okay, yeah, those ridges are probably about as good as I can get them. I'm not going to weather this like I typically do, but I'm still going to weather it. So I'm mentally saying, like, how far am I going to fix this? Is that okay? Can I lean into this with the weathering, or does this have to be corrected? So there it is, sanded. I got all the holes for my my hex bolts. Looking over it. So now I'm preparing to paint. So it's a final sanding, and I'm doing the, what did I say it was, 400 grit. And I don't know, it's weird. Like, sometimes you see me blow through this stuff. Sometimes you see me take more time. It depends on the piece. Like, this piece warrants it, right? It's like, I'm like, you know what? This is a quality piece. I'm going to have this for a while, so I'm going to spend more time on it. And, if it's just a one-off squirt gun that I want for a background actor, I'm not going to spend this kind of time, right? But this, it's like the piece, again, thanks to Clint, this piece inspired me. So now, I'm dedicated to this idea that I'm going to maintain the black resin cast texture, color, vibe. So I'm going to take the time to mask this off. And later on, I'm going to regret using, not on these handles, but on the body. So when you see the yellow, that's my expensive, I just caught myself, it's Tamiya. Ever since Temu, I'll watch a video that I recorded months ago, and I meant Tamiya, and I say Temu. So that's a retraction. So the yellow tape is the Temu, and that's the masking tape you want to use. But it is expensive, so I try to supplement it with the blue tape, but the blue tape sticks. Anyway, so I'm going to use some adhesion promoter. I get that from the auto store, and I'm going to do a base coat of flat black. There it is in my yard. I haven't spring cleaned yet. And then my eyes are getting old, so there's going to be all the pinholes revealed. And there's, what I didn't notice when I was sanding, there's a lot more pinholes in the barrel. So I'm going to correct them and creep up on it. Ultimately, I lean into them as the weathering, but I want to sort of handle as much as I can. So this is just the filler putty. This is really just, again, for like pinholes, scratches. And typically after you primer, it becomes very apparent where these are. Now, because this is like a rounded surface, I put this on with my finger. If it was a flat surface, you would just use like the little spatula and kind of put a minimal skim coat on here. But I found with like these round surfaces, I just put on a rubber glove and work it with my finger. That seems to be the best result for me. Again, not the cleanest, not the most probably efficient, but works. And I want to get rid of as many of these pinholes as possible. So the 220 will make quick work of it. Then the 400. And more sanding? Is this the sanding video? But you watch these videos, you know the drill. I don't know why I have to keep explaining it. But I'm just sort of sharing with you, like you can see. Yeah, so it's a lot on there for a little bit, but it's the process. It's a process as old as me. It works. It's the good stuff. And even, again, I like to just sort of be straightforward. Even with all this attention to detail, all this sanding, there's still going to be spots, right? So there's a lot of people out there that get things perfect, you know? And I'm passionate about what I do. I'm thoughtful about what I do, but I'm never able, I feel, to get things perfect, right? And for a lot of people, I think that stops them, where they're like, well, you know, I can't do this perfect. But I don't know, maybe it's maybe it's ignorance, but I've never let that stop me, right? I enjoy it. I move forward, doing the best I can. And then that really reveals itself. You know, I didn't notice that before. So I'm like, okay, you know, let's bring out the big guns. Going to use some baking soda and some super glue. And again, it's going to work, and it's going to get it to where I want it, and it's going to be fine. But is it going to be perfect? If I was like a perfectionist? No. Do I keep going? Yes. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't want to get too deep, but I feel like a lot of the value of this kind of content is to just give people permission to, like, yeah, you know, go for it. You know what I mean? It might not be perfect, but it exists. You did it. You tried. You went for it, and it's fine. And a lot of that stuff, you know, other people don't notice anyway. I don't know why I'm going off on this tangent today, but there it is. It's. I think it's all the sanding. I'm coming up with banter, so I figure it might as well be heartfelt. So in my mind, I like to give you my thought bubbles. I'm like, please let this be the end of it. And it looks like it is. And I'm like, oh, great, we got there. But, you know, when I paint it, it's still not perfect, but it's better than it was. And it's fine. And it's, you know, I know that, like, you know, I did the best I could with what I had at the time. So there it is. But, man, it's such a cool gun. Like I said when we were talking with Clint, is that what I like about it is it's pre-Star Wars, and it's made the same way in that era of prop making, right? Where it's like they had all these rental World War II weapons because it's like right in the script in the 70s, they're firing guns. But it's in outer space, so they take the World War II weapons and they just grab other things and mash them up together to get something that's sort of, I'm doing air quotes, like looks like from outer space. And that's what I really like about this one. It's got the ray gun barrel, and it's got like the Luger body. And yeah, right? I'm thinking, again, thought bubble, please let it be done. And the magnifying glass comes out because those ones I just pointed out, I didn't see them originally. So now another isopropyl. Be careful with the isopropyl once you have the filler on there, because if you get it too wet, you could just sort of turn that back into mud. So here we're cleaning it up. We're getting there. And all the time when I'm handling this thing, I'm thinking, man, this thing feels good. It's got a nice weight. Resin cast is definitely better than when I put the fishing weights into the plastic hollow squirt guns. So hair dryer. Now because I'm gonna be painting this chrome silver, I want to put a gloss black, and then I'm gonna hit it with this chrome. Anytime I'm doing like chrome or things like that, I do like to get brands of paint that are made for cars. That's just a personal preference. And through my experience, I've had the best luck with that. Like a Rust-Oleum, whatever is fine. Now here, this is why I typically don't do chrome spray paint, is because it looks like chrome spray paint. But I know I'm going to be weathering this, so I think it's fine. And I typically do the graphite, and it's like, I don't want to do the graphite again. I want to try something different. So here, like I said, foreshadowing, I'm going to regret this. The Tamiya tape is fine because I'm going fast here. Like, ideally, you wait 24, 48 hours for it to dry, and then you could just put the masking tape on there, and it's fine. But because I was kind of rushing this process, the Tamiya tape is fine if you put it on once it's sort of just flash dry. But I'm putting this blue tape on to cover up more of the gun. And I'm going to regret this later because it's going to add a sticky residue. And, you know, I knew when I was doing this that I was rolling the dice. but you know, it is what it is. I end up fixing it, but just something to keep in mind. If you're not in a rush, and you want to do multiple colors and paint, that's the game, right? Is like waiting for it to dry properly before you mask off the other layers. But, you know, it's patience. So here, once I looked at the piece, I realized, you know what? I want this this little feature of the gun, I think would look better if it was black. And if I had thought of that ahead of time, I still wouldn't have been able to mask off the resin, because if you remember, we did all that file work to clean up the flashing. So it still needed a little bit of love. And then, I don't know if you could tell there, but I'm struggling with the tape, and I'm sure I'm cursing. So, and then the Tamiya just comes off. So, or, you know, I used to have the big thick Tamiya tape too, but like I said, it gets a little costly. But then you got to think, well, you know, versus your time of redoing it all again versus the tape, then it's like, well, maybe it's not that expensive. So here I'm just sanding down where the tape messed up my paint job, and then I'm going to re-hit that, and it all is fine, but it's annoying. And then I'm learning, like, yeah, I'm still going to have problems with this barrel. It's like, this project was definitely, you know, you pull on the sweater string, and it's just kind of like, oh no. But, like I keep saying, it is such a cool piece that, you know, I'm like, you know what, we got to make this work out. So I'm hitting it with another coat of the chrome. And yeah, that looks good. But again, you know, the chrome paint looks like chrome paint. And then if you want to use like the really good chrome paint, you got to use an airbrush and a special clear. And I'm just not there with this. But here, I know now that this blue tape is sticking, so I want to give myself a chance to succeed here. So I'm scoring the line of the tape and the paint, because sometimes what will happen is if you don't pull the tape off early on before it totally sets, the paint could be stuck to your piece and the tape, and it'll just peel everything off. And then there, I don't think I did it on camera, but in the 11th hour, I was like, oh, I should probably mask off this trigger too, so that it's the same black plastic as the handle. And yeah, I'm glad I did that. You can't really tell in that shot, but it is. And here I'm just, everything's ginger. So I'm like, come on, man. I don't want any more backward steps. But yeah, it looks good. The flashing's gone. I'm sort of inspecting. I'm like, please don't be any more surprises. But yeah, that looks cool. So now we're gonna go ahead and put in the bolts and the nuts. And the cool thing about this too is that it's just gonna look better because they're not painted and they happened after the paint job. And then there's just something that when you put these hex screws in, it just it's a greebly, right? But it's like a real world greebly, and it just adds a nice level. So here I'm just double checking because I forgot which sizes I used. I'm making sure everything still fits. And I'm just going to use 5-minute epoxy for these. I like to use 5-minute epoxy for this kind of stuff because you do got to finesse and finagle a little bit. Again, when you're not doing things to perfect mathematical tolerances, there's always a little bit of sort of massaging, we'll call it. So the 5-minute epoxy is just great for this because once it sets, it's not going anywhere, but you do have that 5-minute work time. Because oftentimes, even with like a super glue that doesn't flash off right away, sometimes you'll be in the zone, you put the super glue, and before you can set the thing where you want it, the glue's already flashed off. So here I'm just being careful to not get it on the paint. And of course, I don't know if it tells, but I get a little on the paint because, again, I'm doomed. If I was a perfectionist, you would not be watching any of my videos, right? And I joke about that, but the serious thing is, right, you got a big picture. Do the best you can. Get better, but do it. Do it and move on. So now I want to do a heat treat on the barrel, and I pulled up on my phone just a little picture of the heat treat. And this, I do it several ways. I had some model paints, I had some spray paint. You're just trying to do like, it's like blue, red, gold. I'm going to, like I said, I know I'm going to do a dark wash over this whole thing. So until I do the wash, this sort of color treatment that I'm doing to give the barrel like that heat stress look is going to look cartoonish, right? But I'm compensating because I know that I'm going to be damping this whole thing down, if that makes sense. And I think I even try like different tactics on this. Like I use the red model paint, and then I think I use red, like a red like anodized paint, and then the blue. And again, all uphill on this thing. So I got some blue paint. I'm like, let me just put some blue on the tip, and then the nozzle of this paint can was all gummed up. So I don't think you can see on camera, but it all just came out like globules. And again, that looks cartoonish, but that's going to get damped down when I weather it. So the barrel had that bright, shiny silver paint in there, so I just put some flat black in there just to sort of make that disappear. And again, so I'm going to only do this wash, so that's not black acrylic paint. It's water-based, but it's an oil paint, so it's a little greasier, it's a little thicker, a little chewier, because I want to matte down this silver. And what I said was like, so the moral of all this is like, this was a great accident, right? I didn't do what I typically do on this one. I spray painted it silver, and the silver looked as bad as I thought it would, but by doing this wash and damping it all down, it takes on like this pewter kind of look, but it looks real. It looks more organic. So I'm like, oh, I will, and you've heard me say this before, I'm like, I will be doing this again. So now it's hard for me to not put a million weathering colors on this, but I'm not gonna. I just use a tiny bit of burnt umber in this, and I don't even water it down. I do it thick, and I do it on the bottom there, and you'll see why. See, that is too much. So that's why we do it on the bottom. You wipe it off, it's fine, but I just want to do little hints around the bolts to make it rusty. But you see all of a sudden that chrome paint now looks like, you know, but it's like lead. That looks heavy. It looks, I mean, you know, disagree with me in the comments, but I think, you know, that looks, think about when it was chrome. I should have did a side by side, and think about it now. Like that looks like an old piece of metal. Whereas when it was chrome, it definitely looks spray painted. That doesn't look spray painted to me anymore. And then there you see how the handle really shines. Here's some beauty shots of it on the Sci-Fi set. Just put it in context. And I couldn't be more pleased with that. And you see how all that crazy heat treatment, cartoonish, that's gone. I'm really happy with this. Yes, indeed. This came out so cool. Big thanks to Clint Carney over there at Clint Carney Creates. I'm sure me and him will be doing more stuff together. I'll put the links below. And what was cool for me personally, right? I'm always learning. So typically when I want the metallic look, I'll do the graphite. I stay away from chrome silver spray paint for a whole thing. It's okay for like little highlights, but for the whole thing, because it always looks like paint. But what I discovered on this one is that when I painted it chrome, but then dampened it down with the black wash, it really gives it a cool, it's almost like pewter, but it like looks, you know, on camera, it looks more real. And speaking of that, how it looks and the weight. So because this came out so cool, and I'm happy with it, with the real hardware and the weight and the grips are cool, I'm gonna make a leather holster for this. And I think I'll do that in another video. Let me know what you think of that below. I think I'll probably get started on that later this week. But very cool. So Well, you know what? Let's fire it up. Let's see what Clint had cooking there in his resin. All right. No buttons on this because it's old school. So I guess we just fire it. Pull the trigger. See what happens. Nice. One more. Yes, sir. Well, as always, check out the eBay. A lot of the stuff that I build on this channel, if it's not for specific film, I put it on the eBay. Check out the Patreon. Check out my book. And be sure, if you're making stuff, the email's in the description. I'll put it up here. Send me pictures of what you're doing, and I'll put you on the subscriber spotlight. And also, like once a year, I'll give you an email of what's going on. But regardless, remember, I'm just here to help make sci-fi.
Hey, I'm just the avatar, but you might want to check out this video, maybe that video. For sure, subscribe if you haven't, and check out the merch. Buy some merch, that really helps. But hey, what do I know? I'm just the avatar.